Chapter 84 Justice and Responsibility. Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 16. The fathers shall not be put to death for the children, neither shall the children be put to death for the fathers. Every man shall be put to death for his own sin. Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 16. As far as I know, this is one of the many texts basic to Christendom that is still without an adequate history. It was once commonplace to kill an entire family for a father's crime, or to punish a clan or tribe for the offence of one man. This was the premise of clan warfare and of feuding. We meet with this law in 2 Kings chapter 14, verses 5 and 6, where we are told of King Amaziah of Judah. And it came to pass, as soon as the kingdom was confirmed in his hand, that he slew his servants which had slain the king his father. But the children of the murderers he slew not, according unto that which is written in the book of the law of Moses, wherein the Lord commanded, saying, The fathers shall not be put to death for the children, nor the children be put to death for the fathers, but every man shall be put to death for his own sin. This same incident is cited in 2 Chronicles chapter 25, verse 4, and the law is referred to in Jeremiah chapter 31, verses 29 to 30. Ezekiel chapter 18, verses 19 and 20 is a strong statement of the same law. Yet say ye, Why? Doth not the son bear the iniquity of the father? When the son hath done that which is lawful and right, and hath kept all my statutes, and hath done them, he shall surely live. The soul that sinneth, it shall die. The son shall not bear the iniquity of the father, neither shall the father bear the iniquity of the son. The righteousness of the righteous shall be upon him, and the wickedness of the wicked shall be upon him. The law is also stressed by Jeremiah chapter 31, verses 29 and 30, and Ezekiel chapter 18, verse 2 and 4. This is a basic premise of biblical justice, personal responsibility. There can be no justice without it. Over the centuries, it has been common to punish and execute an entire family or a village for the sin of one member. Such an incident preceded World War II. It was routine with many a European monarch to push men to confessing their crimes, real or fancied, to avoid having their families' properties confiscated. There was no certainty that this would follow, but if they confessed, the king might allow the property to remain with the family. Henry VIII used this strategy, for example, and it made him feel morally right that his victims pleaded guilty as charged. Some prisoners often praised the king fulsomely to gain his favour for their family. We see now, in the later years of the 20th century, the rigorous use of this evil practice. Various US agencies use it routinely. For example, when parents reported that their son, still living at home, used drugs, the federal agents seized and confiscated his parents' home. It is this kind of practice that this law legislates against. Two kinds of problems are involved. First, the state can seize a property because they are confiscating private wealth. This is very common. Second, the state can seize properties in order to undermine and destroy its critics. Critics commonly oppose to this text, Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 9. Thou shalt not bow down thyself unto them, graven images, nor serve them, for I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers upon the children, unto the third and fourth generation to them that hate me. The difference between the two texts, however, is an important one. First, Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 16, forbids man, the state, or any human agency to punish innocent persons for some family member's sins. Second, Deuteronomy chapter 5, verse 9, tells us that the social consequences of sin can endure for generations. There is no contradiction between the two laws. Sin is a personal act. God's judgments can affect all of us, or generations of men. In Hammurabi's law, we see the kind of evil which God's law corrects. 229. If a builder constructed a house for a seigneur, but did not make his work strong, with the result that the house which he built collapsed, and so has caused the death of the owner of the house, that builder shall be put to death. 230. If it has caused the death of a son of the owner of the house, they shall put the son of that builder to death. The rationale behind the executions of entire families was that it would eliminate a group who would seek vengeance. The hanging of Haman's sons in Esther chapter 9, verses 13 and 14 may have been an example of this. It is possible, however, that they were active with their father in his offences. We do not know. There is another important aspect to this law which ancient Hebraic scholars set forth. This law insists on personal as against corporate responsibility. No relative of a guilty man can be punished for his sins. On the other hand, the family cannot be used to testify against the person on trial. However, there is an ostensible exception to this law in Deuteronomy chapter 21, verses 18 to 21, which requires parents to join in on the trial of an incorrigible son. In this case, however, the crime is known and demonstrable. The family's role is to side with justice rather than with blood. Our contemporary laws which bar testimony by a family member as a wife against her husband come from Deuteronomy chapter 24, verse 16. Families may and do have internal dissension and divisions, but the state can never legitimately compel the members thereof to testify one against another. I have heard of ironic consequences of this law against testimony by a family member. At times, marriages have remained outwardly intact because the man cannot afford to have his wife divorced and free to testify against him. She is in effect bribed to remain in the marriage. The comment of P.C. Craigie on this verse is a telling one. This short piece of legislation makes clear a principle underlying all the law in Deuteronomy, namely, that the presence of law and the requirement that it be obeyed placed upon every man a responsibility for his actions, both within the covenant community and before God. Responsibility is a moral and religious fact. Wherever Christianity is undermined, so too is responsibility. The return to paganism is a return to injustice. There is another aspect to this law. The family is not only a biological entity, but a moral and religious one as well. Even in our time, with all the assaults on the family, it remains very much a unity. In spite of this fact, God requires that we see responsibility as personal. If more than one family member is involved in a crime, each must be tried in terms of his or her personal complicity. This law imposes a limit on the power of the judges and the state. Guilt and virtue are personal facts, and the duty of the court is to ascertain personal guilt and no more. To hold family members guilty of the offence of one is to dilute and, in effect, deny the validity of responsibility. Both in antiquity and in our time, people have preferred to believe in collective guilt. Thus, It is commonly assumed by many that war guilt can be ascribed to all Germans and Japanese, that the European major powers were evil colonial exploiters, that the white race or the black is evil and demonic, and so on. This law requires us to be specific about offences and specific about guilt. Precisely because criminal offences are so serious, we cannot be other than specific in the charges. The concept of victimhood means that the family, society, the environment, heredity, or anything else can be blamed. This dilutes responsibility and trivializes offences because the guilt is then so widespread that it is meaningless. Responsibility is replaced with victimhood, and justice is undermined. This law has been important to the development of freedom in Christendom. By making guilt personal, it frees us from paying a grim price for what we did not do. Our departure from this law means that people not involved in an offence can be blamed for it. It means racism and class warfare because it transfers sins from persons to peoples and classes unconnected with the crimes. We are far gone in our departure from this law. The churches must proclaim it so that we can be a free people. A basic component of freedom is that you pay for your own offences, not another man's.